Hey everyone, it's Joe. Welcome to another episode of the Future Business Analyst podcast. My guest today is Retha de Porte, a business analyst with Momentum Metropolitan. She's caffeine addicted, a CBAP, and also involved with mentoring, blogging on the BA Lab, and volunteers with the IIBA-South Africa Chapter. Thank you for joining me today, Retha.
Oh, thank you very much, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. So the place I always start is at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in business analysis, what it was that gave you your kickstart?
Okay, so I think I'm one of many BAs that didn't really dream of becoming a BA as such. So when I grew up, I was always dreaming of becoming a doctor. And then life happened. And then I didn't know what to do with my life. And I was bouncing around. And I dabbled a little bit in programming, did a little database. Then there was a need that came up for a solution, and I stepped up and I said, guys, here's a solution. And then I had a great manager that saw potential in me, and he appointed me as a project manager. I think at the age I
Okay.
was 19, almost 20 at that time. And there was a lot of growth that happened in that role, but it was still not home. It was nice, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. And then after a couple of years, I actually moved around a bit. I was in the logistics industry, by the way. I'm currently in finance,
Okay.
or insurance rather. Um, and I ended up in my first business analyst role. So I love how they always put these little tags in front of business analyst. Like I was a CLC business analyst, and you get, like, what is that? So basically, it meant I did the warehouse management systems for the logistics company. And this is where I really started as a business analyst. And then I progressed into a more specialized role for business process management.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I also just outgrew that position and looked for some new opportunities. And that's when I approached Momentum. And then again, people believing in me, I think that's a big important part of my life. People that give me the opportunities. I didn't have any experience in the insurance industry. They took a chance on me and gave me the position as a business systems analyst. And I spent, yeah, a couple of years as a business systems analyst. And then last year, changed again.
Okay.
And now I'm a proper business analyst, whatever that may mean. So yeah, but yeah, I never planned on becoming a business analyst, but I think I found my passion and I found my home. I think that's the important part. I feel where I'm comfortable, and I'm in this stage of my career where I feel like I can give back to the younger generation, feeling like I'm giving away my age. I feel a lot older than I think I am, but yeah, I'm in a position where I can give back to the community.
Yeah, no, no, and that's fantastic. As you say, didn't dream of being a BA, but now you're living the dream of being a BA, right?
Yeah. So the other day we were at the IIBA's Professional Development Day, and I think it was Tsepo that actually likened the BA practice to a doctor's practice.
Yeah.
Like very similar. It's also a practice. We're also professionals. Just because we're not doctors doesn't mean we're not professionals.
No, indeed. And that analogy comes up often, doesn't it? About sort of the general practitioner perhaps versus specialists and things like that. Um, I mean, you've got quite a breadth of experience there. If you've done the programming work, you've done the database work, you've done sort of the systems analysis side, and now perhaps more on the pure business analysis side. And you haven't given away your age, but I am hearing that you've got a wealth of experience in the profession. What kind of changes have you seen over the years, perhaps, in the shift of focus of a BA?
So I think when I started out, agile didn't really exist. Or if it did, I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't get any formal business analysis education until 2016 when I did my first course with FTI. And there was definitely the agile way of work has definitely become a big way or an important part of the way we work and how we address what we do. I still think I'm one of those BAs. I believe waterfall has a place
Mm.
and it will always have a place in the way we work. Agile is just a different way that we can address the work. Um, Definitely technology. It's a big drive right now with AI, Chat GPT that is taking over. And I think since COVID, we had a massive evolution in the way we do things, the remote work and all of that. We have become so much more technology driven than we used to, or at least my experience of
Yeah.
that. Yes, it definitely is playing a much bigger role in how we do things.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've always worked in a technology space because there's always a
Mm,
part of what we do always sort of lands up being some form of information technology
technology.
solution. But I do feel like our embracing of the tools that are now available into our own work has improved immensely. As you say, this evolution through COVID has just accelerated people sort of embracing this stuff.
No, definitely. Um, and I think it's going to carry on like that. I don't think we're going to see it slowing down anytime soon. I think at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to see this acceleration, and we as BAs will need to adapt to that and keep up with that rapid rate of change. Otherwise, we're going to stay behind. We'll have to upskill ourselves and stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah. We got to get better, faster. We got to stay in pace with this sort of change, as you say. We've got to be able to adapt and respond. I mean, one of the questions that's coming up a lot is, people saying, "What's the threat to the business analyst through things like AI?" What's your take on that?
I don't think it's a threat at all. I think looking back at the history of business analysis, I mean, it wasn't called business analysis back then, but from I think Socrates, that age, like that time, they already did some form of problem solving and business analysis. And we have over time just given a name, we have defined some processes and created a framework and all of that. And I think with AI and all of that, it's just gonna we're just gonna evolve with it. The profession is gonna evolve with AI. We're gonna make it's gonna make our lives easier. We're going to maybe be better at decision making and all of that. It's going to just make what we do easier, faster, better. But it's not going to be a threat for the profession itself. No.
No, and at the same time, it's changing our profession. The way we do things, perhaps. It's also changing everybody else's profession,
It
the
is.
people we work alongside it, the organizations that we work within. So we're all in this together, right?
And we will evolve and adapt. The whole world is changing every second, and we will just adapt with it and grow with it. And as something dies off, something new will be born. There will always be something new for us to do as it evolves,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's the good thing about it.
yeah.
The good thing about change, we just have to embrace it.
We have to embrace it. I mean, we're in the profession of change, and the one thing that we can guarantee is change, and that change is coming more rapidly than ever before. I think we're going to have our hands very full, and we might not see exactly what these new ways of working, these new opportunities are yet, but I think we can rest assured that they are going to be there for us, and we're not going to be displaced by it.
No, no, I don't believe we will be. I think right now we are in such a special time as well. I think we the world is our oyster at this moment. We have so much that we can right now we are in the position where we can basically lead into the future where we want to be. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I'm caught on that thing you said. I thought it was a wonderful sentiment that we're actually in a very special time. I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. What a wonderful time to be alive and be a BA.
It is. It is. I think we like in the beginning of change, and there's so much possibility, and we are right in the middle of that right now, and we can steer the future. I think that is what
Yeah.
the word that I was looking for is. We can steer into the future where we want to go, where we see business analysis going.
Yeah, yeah, definitely something there for us to shape. But as much as it's not going to like displace us, I do imagine that we're going to have a few challenges along the way into the next few years. What sort of challenges do you perhaps see?
I do believe that change management people will be scared of the change. I think we already see a little bit of pushback when it comes to uh, solutions that is AI driven, machine learning, and all of that. People are not familiar, they don't trust the technology yet, and all of that. So there will be pushback. As with any change, you will see people fighting it, and then there will come the acceptance, and then it will start blooming again, and we will carry forward.
Yeah.
Then I think the opportunities will become like endless.
Yeah, I mean, back in the 1990s, when it was quite fashionable to do sort of business process re-engineering, it got a bad reputation in the end because of the number of people who were left off, who were retrenched, laid off due to that kind of optimization that was happening. And so there is a bit of a bad stigma, perhaps still attached to IT projects and change, that there is a threat to people and jobs. And now with this technology that's almost more blatantly threatening some jobs, it's going to be a real fear for people. So I think you're absolutely right. We're going to have to help manage
It
that
scares
change.
people. Yeah, it scares people. And unfortunately, when you get scared, you're going to push back, you're going to fight it. But I think again, that is the opportunity for each and every person to grow and to make sure that they change with the changes. If you're just gonna be stagnant, you can't be mad if you get left behind. If you don't step up and be part of the change.
Yeah. Um, and change management is another string to our bow. I mean, as BAs, we have many strings to our bow. It's a very broad set of skills. It's back to that doctor, that GP, that general practitioner, but on at the same time, there's a lot of specialized roles coming out. They've certainly emerged over the last few years, whether it's agile or digital or product or data or whatever those things are. Do you think we're at a bit of a crossroads in terms of being this sort of full stack BA versus this sort of specialized in demand skill kind of BA?
So I think I actually spoke about that over the weekend with one of my colleagues as well, and we spoke about having your full stack BA versus your specialized. And I think there's a place for both. You're going to need a BA that's more generalized, that can go anywhere and go quickly. And then you have the need for someone that's more specialized, that knows, have a deeper knowledge of a specific subject that you can then call on to do specific tasks. So I think there's a place for both in this world. It's the choice of the BA if he wants to be a generalist or a specialist BA.
Yeah.
Interest lies.
People have a career choice, isn't it? I think that's what it is, and they need to think carefully, like you do with your career, about which one of these two paths you're going to take, and then choose the one that's going to be best for you into your future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the employees will choose. I think there's a need for both. I think if you have a specific problem, you're going to use a specific tool. I mean, you're not going to use a screwdriver instead of a hammer. So if you need a screwdriver, you will. use a screwdriver to do the job. You're not just going to hammer it away, because that's not going to give you the effect that you want. So, and I think it's going to be the same for a business analyst. If you have a specialist and you have a need for a specialist, you're going to appoint a specialist. But there's also the need for a BA that you can move from one position, especially if you have a project that demands a little bit of skill, not in-depth skill, but a little bit of every skill.
Mm.
That is where your generalist BA will bloom and will add the most value.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that that there are careers, and careers are broken down into jobs, into experiences, into projects. There's components that build up into a career, and so you could spend a bit of time going deep in one of these just for a little while, not to become that 10,000-hour expert, but at least to get maybe a couple of thousand hours in it, and then bring that back to the generalist profession and sort of stabilize yourself.
Salvagin, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of something that Christelle Govender mentioned on one of the earlier episodes on the pod, where we also sort of the idea of the GP and the specialist came up, and one of the differences, of course, in the sort of medical profession is that GP sends a letter to that specialist. It sort of gives you that access, and it would be nice if in getting these specialist skills to support whatever change is needed, if that came sort of via the BA, I think that would be a wonderful place to be. It would put us in a point position as far as business stakeholders are concerned.
Definitely agree. We will be consulting them just as your GP is consulting your specialist.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
All this talk of technology, but there's also a human involved.
Yes, and that is my passion. They don't call me the marshmallow in our team for no reason, right?
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, we're going to need a human-centric approach still. I mean, you've talked about the fear that people have, that anxiety. There's a lot of technology. It's a time for human empathy, is it?
It is. It's definitely. I think the more automated the world becomes, the more we need to be aware of the fact that there's a human behind that computer. I usually think about how easy it is for those keyboard warriors on their keyboards on Facebook, just throwing out the remarks there, and they don't really care who they hurt or not. And I think because we don't see the people on the other side, we tend to lose that sense of humanity. And I think that is very important, because at the end of the day, your stakeholder is not just a stakeholder. It's a human. It's a human with feelings. It's a human with fears. And there's always, I love people. I love interacting with people and getting to know them. And I think it's such an important part of our job as BAs. I think technology it's important, but the relationships we build with our stakeholders is what will differentiate a good BA with an excellent BA. That is the differentiation. Your ability to build those trust relationships with your stakeholders.
Yeah, soft skills are going to be in complete demand going forward. I mean, you're saying there, it's important, but I feel like it's not just important for projects and organisations, it's important for life, right? It sort of extends beyond all of that. Um, and I would imagine in future there are going to be some choices that are like, we could automate this in some way. Some machine could do this, or a human could do this. And perhaps in the past, the decision has always been around cost or something like that, into the long run. But we might have to start questioning some decisions and saying, well, that might be a better cost decision, but it's not a better social decision.
Definitely. I think people are going to get to a point where they want to interact with a human and not with an AI bot. Uh, it's only so much. I mean, it's a machine. It cannot offer real empathy. And we as humans, we can feel if someone is fake. So if you speak to an AI bot, it's not going to give you that empathy that you sometimes need as a human. So I definitely think that where the answer was always let's automate, we're going to get to a point where we say, is automation the right solution for this problem, or do we want to put a real human up for the solution?
Yeah. I just think we're going to be facing that question far more than we've probably have done in the past. I don't think we've even really considered it in the past, have we? But it's sort of coming more to the fore now.
I
Um,
must say, like, I even like the frustration I felt it quite recently where I wanted to get into contact with a supplier and you can't reach them. You can only send them messages and but you cannot make a phone call. So you have to either chat with a chatbot or send an email. And the frustration that comes with that automated systems, uh, it frustrated me up to the point where I said, I'm no longer dealing with a supplier because I need to speak to a human. And I
mm,
think we're going to get to that point a lot more.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely there. Um, and I mean, let's lift the lid on this a little bit more as well. I mean, the scenario that we perhaps just talked about was sort of inside of a project in an organization about making some kind of strategic decision around technology and sort of human. But if we lift the lid on the organisation, we think about the wider world. Do you see any kind of trend around organisations needing to do more about social responsibility, about sustainability, that kind of thinking?
Definitely. I think most companies are not there yet. And I think it's something that when we do consider our solutions, we need to be more aware. And I think that is also a trend that will pick up. I think we're at the start of it, but I think it's something that we as business analysts also need to consider a whole lot more when it's like another tick box that we need to check when we consider the solutions to make sure that we are socially responsible.
Yeah, I can definitely see that kind of requirement being more sort of inbuilt into our just everyday thinking.
Definitely. I definitely think, like I said, I think we're not there yet. I think we're like right at the beginning. But looking at where the world is going, I think this is something that we as BAs really need to sharpen our skills on as well and just upskill a little bit, make sure that we're on par so that we are there when that requirement really becomes part of our job.
Yeah, I think that, more thought around ethics, perhaps. I don't know if ethics is quite the right word, but just ethical projects, ethical products.
Yes, yeah. I think it's a whole can of worms that you kind of need to unpack and see. I guess it also depends on the industry that you're in, what exactly that would entail. But yeah, definitely. I think that is a subject on its own entirely.
And customer centricity is
Mm.
is something that has had a lot of focus. And as we talk about this, you say as BAs, and I'm also hearing as BAs. BAs are obviously employees, right? They work for organisations, and with things like COVID and remote work, one of the things I feel is that people are considering more often what they want from life, who they want to work for, in what way they want to work, the kind of things that they do. And they want to work for ethical employers, right? So, as much as we talk about customer centricity, which we absolutely must, I feel like there's perhaps a shift in the employee experience as well inside of organizations. Do you see sort of shifts happening there?
Definitely, I think we consider the companies that we work for and how it used to be a one-sided type of interview. It has definitely become a two-way conversation rather than the one-sided conversation. So definitely a shift in the way it used to be.
Yeah, we used to be grateful to get a job, and now we're sort of questioning whether we want that job.
Job, yeah, and if it's the right fit for us, I think it's a very good thing because it means we are putting more or placing more value in ourselves.
Mm.
Um, and I think it does put the employers a little bit on the back foot, but also then it forces them to also adjust and make sure that they create an environment where people want to work. So I think it is a more balanced approach than it was previously.
Yeah, and I if an organisation is aligned with our values around things like social responsibility and sustainability, then that becomes the kind of employer that we want to work for. It draws more people like us, and then we build that momentum inside with that sort of sustainable mindset, that social mindset, and it just perpetuates, really.
It does. It does definitely.
Yeah. One of the things I know that you do is Community of Practice, Centre of Excellence, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful things. I think it's great that you're doing that. Won't you tell me a little bit about how it sort of works, how it runs, the kind of things that you discuss in there?
So we are still quite in the beginning of setting up the community of practice. So when I joined shared services, so I come from a product house specific to Momentum. So the setup there is quite different than working in shared services. And I don't know if you've ever been to Momentum's offices, but it's quite big. And you walk around, people passing you, and you would never know that they're a business analyst if you don't see them in a meeting and you hover over their little, that little dot and it says, "Oh, this is a business analyst," and then you kind of remember the name, but you never see the face. And for me, it was really difficult to just find my spot in my little home in my new position. So this is where it actually started. I spoke to a few other BAs that I, by accident, met in different meetings that we had, and I said, "Do you feel the same way?" And they're like, "No, absolutely. I don't know who the next BA is. I don't know if I walk past you that you're a BA." And then I said, "Okay, well, this needs to change." And then I got Amy van Rooyen, who also spoke at the PDD day. She's one of my colleagues. And I said to her, "Okay, no, hold on, we need to do something about this." And so it started very organically. We had a meetup where we got all the other BAs who are interested, got them together, and we just had a nice little chat, getting to know each other, the names, the faces. And we then have another BA day coming up that we are arranging for the end of August, where we will be networking. The IIBA will be there as well to represent them. Um, and yeah, I think it's the start. It has to grow organically. It's not something you can force. You can't force people. So we're hoping to see a bigger turnout every time we do meet up. Um, we really focus on leveraging from other BAs in the community to build up and to build a strong community. So that's our focus. So we're getting there. It's a very interesting learning school at the moment, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to grow together.
Yes, yeah, and I think we have to, as BAs, we always try and we're so focused in our own space that we forget we have other BAs that we can leverage from, especially if we're in a dispersed environment like I currently am. Um, you tend to forget about that.
Yeah, no, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, you get to grow together. And are you sort of in this centre of excellence? Are you sort of dealing with the kind of issues that people are facing internally, or do you have more of a like, how can we grow sort of future of BA kind of mindset for it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think internally we have our own issues, and then we are looking at like a mentorship program to see how we can grow and groom the current BAs for the future. How can we, as BAs together, be prepared for the future of BA?
Yeah, and you mentioned dispersed there. Are you just locally dispersed, or are you internationally dispersed?
No, locally,
Locally.
we have a couple of offices, but even like, you know, the thing about silos, right? We all know
Yes.
the silos, and it's so easy to fall into those silos. And we are trying to break that with this community of practice to say, like, we all face the same issues. You might be the only BA in your little silo,
Mm.
but there's many silos, and if we break down those barriers, we have a community that can stand together and that you can leverage from and learn from, and have a go-to person that can check you, and where you can, you know, it's just that whole thing about a community. It's like they say with when you raise a kid, yeah, it takes a village. This is the same. It takes a village. Uh, so yeah,
Takes a village to raise a BA,
yeah,
and
it does.
I mean, you talk about silos. You talk about obviously being split in whatever product silos, or however it's done. But of course, with remote work as well, those silos have the mini silos, so it sort of snowballs the problem.
It does. Unfortunately, it does. And I think it's up to us as business analysts to, again, overcome that problem. We have to make use of the tools that we have. Uh, Again, collaboration comes up. I think we really need to. Uh, I think that is also a little bit of our leadership skills that need to come up in with a collaboration. To break those silos down and to make people feel comfortable collaborating on a platform where you can't see each other face to face. So it's definitely it's a skill.
Yeah. And leadership, and I think you've done a great job by being the leader and getting a few people and building this momentum in momentum.
The momentum.
But yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. And communication and collaboration, those two C's, they just come up time and time again. And making stakeholders feel seen and heard in a world where we're not seen or heard quite as often. Do you think remote's going to stay? Do you think sort of how it is now is sort of how it's going to continue?
Unfortunately, yes, I don't foresee a big change. I think this is going to be the way the future is going to be. I don't think we're ever going to be or get back into a space where we're going to be at the office on a permanent basis. I think this is our new normal. That word has been used so many times. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And it is up to us to adapt again and make sure that we get the best out of the situation. Still get people to collaborate, to still feel comfortable. It's a different ball game when you have a face-to-face meeting and when you have an online meeting where people, they don't have their cameras on, they don't respond, and it takes a whole different skill. It's not like you can, I want to say, pick up a stapler and throw someone, throw it at someone. They don't listen to you. So it is different because you have to interact with them differently. You have
Yeah.
to engage differently.
Yeah, and it is. I do a lot of online training, and I'll have a class with 12 people in it, and there'll be 12 cameras off, and I'm doing this for 8 hours a day, 3 days in a row, and it's almost like being blind, right? I
It,
imagine in a way, and so then focus on the other skills that you do have, the ones that are left. And I find that, those other things, I wouldn't have had to have gotten as good at them if I'd seen people, because I can't see people. Then it's just meant that I've had to do other things and get better at those other things to get engagement. And it's hard, but it's adapting, as you say. So if you look back from this sort of pre-COVID world to this world now, which we're going to assume is going to go on, what skills of yours do you think have really sort of had the muscles work over the last while?
Oh gosh. So I think just the ability to, because like you say, the cameras are off. You have to, your other senses have to basically kick in, because you need to make sure still that the people you are speaking to are actually understanding what you are saying. So it is questioning people without feeling that they have been put on the spot. So it's definitely a whole, I haven't even actually thought about the different skills that I use, because you kind of try and test and see what works. And the difficult thing about it is not every meeting you have the same type of stakeholders. So it's a getting to know your stakeholders at a completely different level than you used to, because face to face you could see if someone is not interested in what you're saying, or you could, there was tell
Yeah,
tell telltale signs to say, okay, this person, you've either lost him, he doesn't get what you're saying, or he's not interested, he doesn't agree. But now you're just looking at a blank screen, and you're like, hello, can you hear me? Am I still on mute? Like, have I lost you?
yeah.
So it does definitely test you on a different level.
Yeah, yeah, it does, and I imagine, well, I like to think when you are then in that sort of face to face environment again, you've actually got more superpowers now, because if you were quite left biased to begin with, now you've strengthened, the right hand side too.
No, definitely. I think as difficult as it is, it's definitely a growth, like a different type of growth that we can use it. It makes us even better in person then, where we would pick up things that we would not normally pick up pre-COVID. So
Yeah,
it's, that extra senses that you just make stronger. So yeah,
yeah.
it's good and it's bad.
It's good and it's bad, but maybe let's stick with this theme. What would a day in the life look like for a BA? I don't know, 3, 5, 10 years. You pick your time frame.
So I don't think it will differ all that much from how we are doing it today. I think there might be like a difference here and there in terms of how we do the things we do. But I think we will still have what we do on a day-to-day basis, but our decision making would be more on data that already exists. So data analysis, where we used to do all of that manually, we would now just consult either a data analyst or uh, data sets already, depending on obviously your situation. Virtual collaboration, it's going to be there, it's going to stay there. We're just going to get better at it. Agile ceremonies, I think that's also here to stay. I think we will Agile will be with us for a long time still. I think it will evolve. I don't see us moving away from this very quickly. Um, I think a big focus of our day-to-day activities will also be on like digital transformation, continuous learning. I think we'll need to make a real effort to stay up to date with the industry trends and emerging technologies. Um, yeah, I think other than that, it's pretty much the same. I would hope and I would like to see documentation a little bit. I know with Agile, a lot of people just let all documentation go,
Yeah.
and to me that is, it's actually a little bit heartbreaking, because I do believe that there is a place for documentation. I wrote an article in the BA Digest, I think it was for Porte, where I also touched on the subject. I said, not writing your documentation is like going and buying a recipe and only receiving the cake. It's a bit like they pay you for something and you just give them the cake. It's all nice and pretty, but they
Yeah,
can never go and build or make that cake again because there's no recipe. So I'm definitely not waterfall. I don't think there's a need for that. But even with a collaboration, we still need that documentation that underpins what we do.
yeah. I like your analogy. Yeah, just get the cake. I just want to get the cake and eat it. I think that's the phrase, isn't it? But I mean, a couple of other ideas that have come up in previous episodes on the pod is obviously around there being a sort of organisational knowledge repository. The DNA of the organisation, like the flows, the rules, the structures, like its entire architecture. And if AI or whatever else, machine learning, all of the augmented reality, all of the other stuff that hasn't even been invented yet. But that stuff's going to need a base. And as you say, if we're not documenting, there's no base.
Base. Exactly. I think there's a lot of IP that goes missing when we don't document things, and it's important things that we lose by not. And like I say, we don't have to have a 50-page document, but even just knowledge sharing between BAs, again, breaking those silos, that dependency that you have by just having a set of documentation, it helps so much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's critical. I also agree with you. The right tool for the right job. I think sometimes there is a place for a more waterfall approach. I think there are projects that suits, and I think there are projects that agile suits as well. I mean, you mentioned a few things in there, but one of them was continuous learning. And how do you blend that in? Personally, I'm finding myself busier than ever, and almost the opportunity. I suppose I learn as a big part of how I do things, so it's sort of like integrated in my day. But like finding time, a block to learn is tricky. So how do you fit learning into your life?
So yeah, time is always a scarcity if you're a BA, but I also try and fit it into my day as part of projects. So when I need to upskill myself on something for a specific project, I kind of build that into my day while I'm doing research on something. You know, you have to make it part of your day. Otherwise, if you're going to say, I'm going to put 2 hours aside to do learning a week, I can promise you, as a BA, you're never going to get to it. It's just impossible. So yeah, I do try. I do join webinars every now and then, if the time allows. Read articles. I do a lot of research when I do my blogging, so that also it's like kind of organically part of my learning while I'm writing the blog. So you have to find a way that fits into your lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, no, you do. Um, I just want to say thank you to you for building in this time in your day to talk with us on the pod. It's been wonderful. Lots to think about as always, and I'm sure some people will listen and get their moment of continuous learning. So thank you very much, Riata.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Okay, I'll see you in a BA Summit at the end of October.
That's right. Yes, we'll see you there.